All right, we're gonna get into this pattern, Butterick B6056. I chose this one because it says fast and easy, and I'm going to make something for my mom, and I think she would like this one, View A. I also choose View A because there are no buttons, and I don't think I'm ready for buttons, but this is nice, right? Nice long little tunic type shirt with pockets. So we're going to do View A. It says very easy. We will see if I agree. So right now I have all of the pattern pieces cut out. I think there are 7 pattern pieces for this pattern. Now let's get the fabric. So for this pattern, I'm going to be using this fabric. It's like an African print type fabric. I pre-washed it, so should be good to go. And the only notions that View A calls for is 1 package of single fold bias tape. I hope this kind of matches a little bit. Not quite, but I think it'll work. And then I got some coordinating thread to go with the bias tape. So that's all we need. Now we just need to start cutting out the pieces. Ironing the pattern pieces just to make sure everything's nice and even. The pattern pieces are bigger than what I've been working with, so I'm laying out the fabric on the floor. But the instructions only give a layout for 60-inch wide fabric, and it's not folded. And since this one is only about 45 inches wide, I'll have to do my own layout. For the front piece, I'm going to make a fold and cut 1 piece so it matches the pattern, or the fabric matches in the front. So I cut out the piece for the front piece, and it was about 1 1/3 yard of the 45-inch wide fabric. So this is gonna take a little more fabric than I thought. So with this piece, I was able to put on all the pieces except for the back piece, which is as large as the front, so it would probably be a total of 2.5 yards versus the 1 7/8 yards that it estimated for 60-inch fabric. Alrighty, got everything pinned down, and I'm going to take it to the table because I want to use my rotary cutter to cut everything out. I have all the pieces cut out from the pattern. Each piece required 2 or to be cut on a flat. So these are the 2 biggest pieces, the back piece and the front piece. And then we have some additional pieces, I guess, for the facings and the pockets. I think this is the pocket. So I'm gonna mark these up. I'm hoping that the grain line suggestions aren't, stringent, because I definitely did my own layout on the fabric and didn't really pay attention to grain lines, but we will see after I finish sewing it up. Step 1 says to make a pleat in pocket 1, bringing stitching lines together, right sides together, matching circles. Stitch along stitching lines from upper edge to lower circles. So this is pocket number 1. I'm going to make a mark through the stitching lines a mark here to remind yourself. See that? Stitching line, stitching line. Okay. It's a little harder because it's darker. But we're going to do step 1, which is bringing the stitching lines right sides together. So this is the right side together. The stitching lines are here. I'm going to sew from here to here. So the little pleat is stitched. Now you have to press it flat. Now that I pressed the pleat, I'm going to do a basting stitch right across the pleat here. I have to gather the pockets from circle to circle to this one. Alright, so I'm going to do a gathering stitch between these 2 circles, and we'll see how it goes. I've never done that before. That's gathered. And it says to stay stitch, curved edge, a pocket. Stay stitch, they say, is closer to the edge. Okay. I'm going to stay stitch then. The next step is to take part 2, which is the binding, and we're going to fold wrong sides together, in half, and press. We're going to baste, and so I think I'm going to baste along the seam line, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I basted the binding. Now it says to stitch the binding to the pockets like this, and the binding is supposed to stretch a little bit to match the curve of the pocket. Okay, sounds reasonable. So we'll start here and here. I just want to interject and say that I feel like this pocket is doing too much right now, but let's continue. The next step is to trim the seam allowance down. So I'm going to use pinking shears to do that. Then I have to turn the binding over. Turn this over. So this is the back side. Turn it over to the front side. So I'll press it down and then stitch close to the edge here. So I'm going to do that. Alright, now that that's stitched, take the number 3 piece. This is the right side. This is the wrong side. Let's pin wrong side of stay to right side of pocket at the lower edge. This is over here. Together. We're gonna stitch here. We're supposed to stitch at the regular seam allowance, which is 5/8 inch, and then stitch 1/4 inch from there. And do that. So I did the double stitch. Now it says trim the seam allowance. Okay. Do that. Then it says under stitch stay. I have no idea. I don't know what that means, so I'm not going to do it. So the next step is to turn that inside out and press down the seam. I guess it's starting to look like a pocket. Okay. So I'm going to baste the edges. So I'm going to fold so you can't see the basting stitch. Yeah. So that's the pocket. I'm going to do the other one and then we can put it on the shirt. All right, I finished both pockets. I think for this pocket, I sewed the binding closer to the fold, which I think was the correct way to do it. For this one, it said edge stitch close to the binding along the seam. So to me, this is a seam. This is a folded edge, but either way, I think this one looks a little better. But now it's time to put the pockets on the, so I'm going to try to stitch it right on there. All right, so the pockets are stitched onto the front piece. Well, not stitched, but they're pinned in the proper place. So all I have to do is edge stitch close to the finished edge, along the sides, along the top, leaving the bottom alone. So just edge stitch on there. All right, we have our pockets sewn on. It's looking good. The next step is to take 2 pieces of the number 5 piece, which is the back panel, and stitch it along the center back line. So I stitched the 2 back pieces together, and the instructions do not say anything about finishing this edge or pressing it, but the pictures do show the seam open. So I'm going to trim the edge with pinking shears and open the stitch and press. All right. Press down the seam, down the middle. Now, we put the back to front, right sides together to stitch the shoulders, matching notches. All right, so we have number 6, which is the front facing, and number 7, which is back facing, and we must stitch front to back, right sides together. I'm just going to pin it here and here, and stitch along here. Now what they want us to do is to turn up 5/8 inch all along the facing and press. So do this all around, I'm guessing. Why, I don't know, but turn up 5/8 inch all around and press. I just realized that the seam gauge would come in handy, so let's see. I can set it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and use that to measure all around. Perfect. So I pressed under 5/8 inch all around the facing. Now I need to put the facing with the shirt right sides together. And let's see, this goes here like this, matching up the neckline. All right. So look around. I got my hands out. All right, so the neck facing has been pressed under and stitched all the way around. I think it looks pretty okay. I don't know why they didn't just do a regular or a different kind of facing where it's just hanging in there. I don't know why we had to do this, because then you have the opportunity to have some bunching in there. But overall, it looks okay. The next to the final step is finishing the armhole. So this does not match at all, but what can you do? So I have a single fold bias tape here. First time using this. Stay stitch the armhole. So stay stitch, just stitch about a 1/2 inch around the edge. I have the stay stitch here, and so I'm guessing that that will be the guide for the bias tape. Start here, overlap it a little bit. Pin it all the way around with the crease at the stitched edge, or the seam that I stitched. And then when it gets around to the other end, I'm going to overlap it and fold it under like this, right at the edge. Yes. Alrighty. Bias tape is sewn all the way around the armhole. So we're going to sew along that inside crease and be back. The first part of sewing the bias tape is done. Now I'm going to trim the excess seam allowance. Now that that's trimmed off, now I need to turn the bias tape to inside like this. So that's how it's going to look inside. And on the outside, you'll just see the fabric. So turn it inside, press, and stitch it down. This is the finished armhole. The binding's inside, or the bias tape is inside. Now do the other one, and the hem is next. Finally, the hem at the bottom. I've already started hemming the side. Now I just need to hem the bottom. Just turning under 5/8 inch, and then turning under again 1/4 inch, pressing that, stitching along, and done. Here is the finished product. The armholes have the bias tape. The neckline has the lining. You see the pockets here. And the hem is turned under. So this was an interesting project. I feel like a lot of time was spent on these pockets. I'll try it on in a minute and see how functional or necessary they even were. And I mean, I don't know if I would do it again. I feel like the facing also was unnecessary. I could probably have used the bias tape if it was just gonna be this little piece anyway. But overall, I did learn some, or I did get to practice some new skills. I did gathering for the first time here, and I used bias tape for the first time. So this is a good project to practice some new skills, but it took a long time, several hours, maybe because I'm slow, but anyway, this is the finished product and I'll turn it on right now. All right, so here's the final look. It's a very loose top. I made a medium, maybe I should have made a small. The armholes are very large. You can see under there, so probably have to wear like a tank top or something. The pockets are a good location. But yeah. What do you think? Would you make this top? Can't find my black belt, but imagine this belt is black. Okay, no. Imagine a black belt. This could be something, maybe. It's still a little big. I could take it in a little bit up here. I think this gives it a little more character. What do you think?